Hi there, and welcome to the Gazette's Hockey Inside Out show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette, and I'm joined this week by former Canadiens defenseman, assistant coach, and 1986 Stanley Cup champ Rick Green, along with my longtime Gazette colleague, Jack Todd, who's filling in this week for Chris Nyland. Rick, you've been behind the bench as an assistant coach, on the ice as a player. After the Canadiens beat the Hurricanes 4-0 Tuesday night, Marty St. Louis talked about how the team has progressed in the 3 years since the rebuild started. He said it's hard to teach players how to play and how to win at the same time. He said the players are now learning how to win. They've won 2 in a row. What signs do you see about this young team finally are now learning how to win?
Well, you're hoping that you're going to get some consistency established in their overall, play. I mean, they've been, up and down over the course of the year where they've had good runs, and they've had good runs because they've understood the importance of playing defense first and not playing high risk type of hockey. So they got away from that a little bit, and the results were obvious. They weren't able to put anything together win wise, and now I think Marty is probably quite happy to see that at least the last couple of games he's seen the things that give him success on that big run, and it's all about discipline, buying in and competing and really, going that extra mile to try and make the difference each shift. And, they didn't give a lot of high risk type chances against. They were really good. I noticed very effective with their third man high that allowed the defense to stay up in the neutral zone, which they had done, in other stretches over the course of the season, and took away a lot of speed from the opposition. And again, it's a learning curve, I think, overall for the group, young guys. And I think that he's, taking a lot of pride in driving home the points that give him success before and the things that don't give him success. So the good news is it seems to be out there, they're aware of it, and they know what to do. Now it's entirely up to them to do it each and every night. What's
impressed you the last couple of games, Jack?
Well, Slavkovsky, for starters. I think he's absolutely key going forward. It makes a huge difference having Heineman back in the lineup. I always say with these teams, everything is like there's a domino effect, One guy goes down, okay, it's one guy, but it affects everything. Because when you couldn't trust that line anymore, I think bringing Pezzetta in at all was a bad move. But whatever, losing Heineman, all of a sudden things tilt. Things tilt a little worse when you lose Goulet, and, the fatigue built up and everything, all of a sudden everything falls apart. Now, just having Heineman back and having Slavkovsky playing like a guy who's 6'3" and 230 instead of 5'3" and 120 is a huge change. The goal last night that he scored, Dmitry Orlov, who's a tough customer, 215 pounds, is pushing him as hard as he can push, and he didn't budge him at all. Like Slavkovsky claimed that spot, he had it, and he got the tip in. The way he was playing before, he would have been hanging 10 feet farther away, and nothing would have happened.
Yeah, I mean, he had talked about how he wants to start playing like Brady Tkachuk, and he has. I mean, he's like the last 2 games, 12 hits, 7 shots, 2 goals, a fight. I don't think he's the best fighter. He might need some fighting tips from Arbor Jacki, and maybe pick his spots moving forward. But, Rick, do you think the team was really tired going into the break? Do you think that the rest is maybe something they needed? They're a young team. It'd be surprising they'd be tired, but they certainly looked that way before the break.
Yeah, I agree with you. They did look tired. They just looked, really flat in everything about, what they need to do to play well. And when you get in that funk, it's not a good situation. And obviously, with that break, a lot of guys had a chance to recharge and refocus. And the reality is there. Look at the standings. As much as we were complaining about the lack of wins in critical times, they're knocking on the door with the opportunity to maybe, like I said, sneak in like Nyland used to sneak in after curfew. So it's a good time for them to be firing on all cylinders, and you never know what will play out as they grind down to the final stretch here. But I think they've recharged. It looks like it. They're energized. They're skating well. They're competing hard, and they want to make the difference, which is a good thing.
You were never with Knuckles sneaking in late after.
No, I was in at 11 always.
Yeah, I won't name names, but I've been on road trips where I've been coming back a bit smashed myself at 2 a.m. and past guys on the down escalator who are going out.
Well, that must have been Mike McVie. That couldn't have been me.
It's interesting, Rick, you mentioned earlier about making smart plays with the puck. And Marty spoke about that. And he showed the guys videos from the Four Nations face-off. And Marty, how you watched that final game between Canada and US. There wasn't a lot of scoring chances, right, with the best offensive players in the world. And he was showing to the guys saying how important puck management is, puck placement is. Jack, from watching that Four Nations thing, just your takeaways and how that might help the Canadiens from players who watched that.
Yeah, anyone who saw that saw absolutely the peak of hockey as it's played right now. Not only that you had these super talents on the ice, but the things they did. And that one little adjustment and the impact it had when they moved Marner up a line and moved Mark Stone down, just the difference that could make. You can learn a lot just from that. Just having a guy who could actually keep up with that line led to 2 assists, the tying and winning goals. The whole game sort of turned on that one shift. So there were all kinds of takeaways, and you hope the intelligent guys were paying attention.
Yeah, you talk about the line combinations. I mean, you mentioned earlier getting Heineman back. That line with Evans and Armia, they start almost every game when they're together, right? And it gives Marty the ability to roll his 4 lines and his 6th defense. And just, what's impressed you most about Heineman, just watching him since he's come back here, Rick?
Well, I mean, the kid, he competes, he skates, he's involved, he really cares about, his play, and he seems to be a really, really good kid and really determined to try and make the difference. And he's got a good shot, and he's not afraid to get, to mix it up and to get it on the forecheck, and very, very effective when he does that. So, obviously, a player like that, when you miss him for a while, and when he comes back, he gives you a big boost. And again, you can talk about chemistry in a line, and they seem to be, working together pretty well to be effective in their overall play, both offensively and defensively.
It was interesting too. Marty St. Louis said after the Carolina game that Nick Suzuki wasn't happy with the way his line had played going into the break. And we've seen that line really pick it up now with Slavkovsky and Cole Caulfield also. So we mentioned a couple of guys already. Jack, who else is impressed? Owen Beck's a guy who's impressed me. Since coming back, he looks like he's a legitimate NHL centerman.
Yeah, I think so. He's legitimate in every way. He's tough. He's mixed up in the play. You notice him when he's out there. He's not tentative, not hanging back like a rookie getting limited ice time. I think he's going to be fine. And somebody at TSN is in love with him because every pregame I see shows Owen Beck in the room with his shirt off. So,
Well, I was talking with Rob Ramage, the Canadiens director of player development, a couple of weeks ago when he was at the Bell Center. And we were talking about Owen Beck, and he said, in the fitness testing, he is off the charts.
I would
off the charts. And I spoke with Owen Beck about that after the game against Carolina. And he said he takes great pride in that and being in the gym and especially in the summertime, really getting himself in shape and ready to go. And it's true, when you see him in the room, after Jaden Struble, he's probably the second most ripped guy in there. Yeah. And is not big in when you look at his size, but strong also. What have you liked about him, Rick?
His smarts, his instincts around the net offensively, he's good, creative, he knows what's going on out there. And a good, honest player. I think you know what you're going to get out of him each night, and his future looks good as part of the Montreal Canadiens organization. And he's a young guy, and he's stepping in there and he's given the opportunity, and he seems to be grabbing his chance to show that he can play, and that's a good thing when you see a young kid that's contributing and has a lot of positive in his game at such an early stage.
Well, that March 7th NHL trade deadline's coming up pretty quick, and Kent Hughes is going to have some tough decisions to make. The Canadiens they win back-to-back games. They only moved 1 point closer to a wild card spot. They were 5 points out after the win against Carolina. It's not just how many points they're out; it's how many teams are ahead of them. Also, trying to leapfrog a bunch of teams. We're talking about Owen Beck. Does he make Jake Evans expendable, Jack?
I think he comes closer to that if Hughes handles this the way I think he will, based on what we've seen of the guy now, is 3 years on the job. He'll make the deal if the deal is there. I don't think Hughes approaches us saying, well, I have to get rid of Dvorak, or I have to get rid of Evans, or I have to get rid of Savard. It's like, is there a deal here that makes sense for me moving forward for the Canadiens? And in that sense, any guy in that list of veterans is probably eligible if somebody comes to Kent with the right deal. If they don't, I don't think he will. There's not a guy there that you urgently feel like you have to move because he's dragging the team down. They've all pulled their weight in that sense, but you don't feel secure moving forward, especially at the center position, unless you know you can fill it. And to me, Beck really looks like he can. The other encouraging thing from last night that I saw was with Doc out, I thought Newhook looked terrific at center. That speed really makes a difference. And he seems to be more aggressive now than he was last year when he was replacing Doc. That's another factor that's going to enter into his thinking, I think. They're not thin at the center position if they have to get rid of Evans.
I have to give honorable mention. You talk about some guys the last couple of games that Jack mentioned about Slav that's really got it going right now, which is great. But I've got to mention, Anderson. I got to mention Gallagher. I got to mention Lane Hudson. These kind of guys are playing great. They're up to the challenge. They seem to be determined to really make the difference. And those are the kind of guys. I mean, you look at Gallagher. I mean, I really I got to give this kid. Well, he's not a kid anymore, but anyway, I got to give him full credit because his leadership and his show by example, and he's bringing a lot of guys along to the next level, and it's good to see that those kind of guys are starting to contribute offensively and starting to understand how they need to play, and it's a perfect time to have everybody playing the best they can be.
Yeah, I wrote a column last week about. I think Gallagher's still the heart and soul of this team. I mean, he really is. He drags everyone into the fight. He's going to become a father pretty soon. His wife's due quite soon. You mentioned Lane Hudson too, Rick. I got a kick out of him during the break, the Four Nations break, while most guys went to a beach and relaxed. He went to Boston to watch his brothers play in university and brought his equipment with him and practiced a couple of times with the team. I mean, the kid. I don't think I've ever seen a guy who loves hockey more than Lane Hudson. He just lives, breathes, sleeps, eats. It's sort of refreshing, Jack, right? You've been around a lot of pro athletes. To see a young kid who appreciates every single day he's in the NHL and just seems to make the most of all of it.
Yeah, I felt bad that if there's anything that made me feel bad about the booing, it was Caulfield and Hudson, because these two guys, you couldn't be more innocent than they are. And the crowd just loves them. Every time Hudson has the puck, you're just like, all eyes, because you just don't know what's going to happen. And what really impresses me about him, by now we all know that he has moves that would fake out anybody. It's how hard he'll work in his own end against guys that outweigh him by 40 pounds. They're 6 or 8 inches taller than he is. And he'll get that underneath and get that leverage, and he holds his own. And he's so quick. I can't remember who it was. Somebody tried to put a spin move on him last night. I mean, come on. You're not going to have quicker feet than Lane Hudson. He cut it off and no problem. I love watching the guy. And he just exudes, like you say, that love of hockey. That's you just love to see that. And it impacts the whole team, I think.
I think so, too. Between him and Cole Caulfield, two guys who light up the locker room. Rob Ramage, before training camp, when I asked him about Hudson and questions about him playing defense, he said he's like a dog on a bone playing defense. Yeah. And you see that, Rick. You've coached a lot of defensemen, played with a lot of them. What impresses you most about Hudson, the way he plays the game?
Well, because of his size, he has to be, have great anticipation and has to be very, very effective with his stick and body position. And there's a kid that understands that he's not going to necessarily push guys off the puck, but he's going to be able to poke the puck away and make it difficult on the opposition to allow them to do what they want to do. So he's, at such a really young age, has adjusted himself to play and contribute at the NHL level. Defensively effective from the standpoint, he's got the smarts and he has good stick work. And I don't think we can underestimate what he does on the offensive side with his creativity and his vision. And now we just need to crank his shot up to the next level, and he might score a few more goals. But huge part of the team and future. And to have a young kid show what he's shown so far at such an early stage, great things to come.
And we're talking about Heineman coming back and rolling the four lines. The game against Carolina, Mike Matheson was the only player in the Canadiens who played more than 20 minutes. And that's how you keep a team from getting tired going forward too, right? Being able to roll the lines like that. So mention the trade deadline. We got Savard, Armia, Evans, and Dvorak, all eligible to become unrestricted free agents. Jack, which one of those guys do you expect most to be traded?
Well, Dvorak, I think.
Yeah.
Although I think he's had his best stretch with the Canadiens since they started that good run that he's had. I still don't see him coming back. They've got some depth at that position. Every veteran has been valuable, especially Gallagher and Anderson, but I would put him at the top of the list. I hate to see Armia go. Savard, I think he's been a key player, but the lack of speed with the way this team is built, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go. But again, what I think will happen is if Hudson's making deals, they're going to be good deals for the Habs, regardless of which one goes.
Yeah, and the thing, I can't see Savard back. I can't see Dvorak back. The question is, what value will they have? Pierre Lebrun, TSN Insider, was saying that there's teams interested in Armia and Evans together in a package deal, which makes sense, especially for a team that's struggling on the PK. You add both of those guys, it's almost like an instant fix to the PK. I'm wondering, Rick, though, that Evans's offensive production has dropped off, especially since Heineman was gone. Do you think that maybe increases the odds of the Canadiens being able to reach a deal with him and keeping him here?
Well, I think, history, tells a story here when you have to be careful on guys that have exceptional years in their final year of their contract, or, in this case, complete unrestricted free agents. And, is this an exceptional year? Do you, lock this guy up for a number of years based on a 1-year performance? And, without taking anything away from Evans, he's a good player. He's having good results. But I think that from what we're hearing, it doesn't look like they're going to find a way to get the numbers right and the term right. And Kent Hughes has got himself in a situation where he's going to have to do something if they really feel that these guys are not going to be signed, Armia, Dvorak. You got to move them. You got to find something, because they're going to lose them anyways. So, they're not going to re-sign him. Armia's not going to be signing for another $3.5 million, I don't believe. And you don't want to have these guys walk and have absolutely nothing in return. So I think as we approach the 7th of March, there's going to be more heated conversations where something will materialize, where the Kent Hughes is going to pull the trigger and say, you know what, I'd rather get something than nothing, because we aren't going to be able to resolve the contract issues with the guys that are coming into that category of unrestricted free agents.
And Kent Hughes has said the players will help him make the decisions, right? If they keep winning and are in a playoff spot, it'll be interesting to see what he decides to do on March 7th moving forward. Anyway, that's it for this week's Hockey Inside Out show. We'll be back with a new show next week. In the meantime, please make sure you like and subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel. Go to MontrealGazette.com/newsletters to sign up for the Hockey Inside Out newsletter. And of course, you can go to HockeyInsideOut.com every day for all the latest Canadiens news. Also, please leave your comments in the comment section below. We always like to know what you think about the show. And look for our bonus episodes, which will be coming out over the next 3 days.